So, Swagatam, welcome to all of you to a new program today, which is where we are going to talk about where is Indian economy heading under Modi. Of course, we have Dr. Swami and Professor Arun Chaturvedi with us. Before we jump into the program, we have a practice of sharing some information about unknown freedom fighters. So people who have fought for the freedom of the nation and whatnot, very well known. So, in that effect, today we are going to talk about Kotwal Dhan Singh Gurjar. So he was born in Panchali village in Meerut in Uttar Pradesh. So we have a small snippet about this great freedom fighter. And once this is over, we'll jump directly into the discussion. It's an interesting topic today. So given where we are,
In India's freedom struggle, Dhan Singh Gurjar is remembered as a key local leader in the Indian Rebellion of 1857. He was born in the early 19th century in Panchali village near Meerut, Uttar Pradesh, into a Gurjar family. As the Kotwal, or police chief, of Meerut, he held an important position under British administration. By the mid-1800s, resentment against British rule had intensified. Indian soldiers faced discrimination, low pay, and limited advancement. Farmers and local rulers suffered under heavy taxes and land policies, while social and religious concerns increased due to colonial interference. The immediate trigger in 1857 was the belief that rifle cartridges were greased with cow and pig fat, deeply offending soldiers' religious sentiments. On the 10th of May 1857, Indian soldiers revolted against the British. Instead of suppressing them, Dhan Singh Gurjar supported the uprising. He led villagers to storm the Meerut jail and helped release imprisoned sepoys and civilians, strengthening the rebellion, which soon spread toward Delhi. For his role, he was later captured and executed by British authorities in 1857. Today, he is remembered through memorials, statues and commemorations, especially in Uttar Pradesh. His legacy highlights the importance of grassroots leadership, reminding us that revolutions often begin with courage at the local level.
thank you. But just talking about courage, we also have to pay respects. It's 1 year since the Pelgam attack has happened, and no justice has been done. It is a shame on the nation that the people who perpetrated such an atrocity on the widows of Pelgam are still not brought to justice. With this, Dr. Swami, we're just jumping directly into the topic. So we're going to go where is Indian economy headed under Modi. So we'll start with your remarks, Dr. Swami.
Thank you. Uh, the latest IMF report says data shows that Bangladesh, in particular in per capita income level of GDP, is above India now. It's incredible to even imagine this. You see, it was a time when the Pakistanis, when they were not divided into Pakistan and Bangladesh, they used to derisively talk about the Bengalis of East Bengal. So here we find now that even India has been overtaken by the Bangladesh per capita income level of the economy. Now we see recently Modi met the vice chairman of Niti Aayog and declared that Sri Ashok Lahiri had rich experience in economics. Now I don't know what rich experience he has had, because I've been through now the materials that are there in our economy digests, and I find them stinkingly bad. India needs, by the way, a lot of action on research and development, education, and healthcare in having large budgets. But there is not a word for it in any of the presentations of the government. And they talk about the Viksit Bharat and Viksit Bharat without any reference to this. Now, you see, we find that, for example, the economist who should be the so-called vice chairman of Niti Aayog, who should be giving us the details and so on, he's getting a huge cabinet minister level salary, and he has not been able to come up with a single document for published for the public to see. Now, in these circumstances, what we have to do is we have to now, in our uh, action today, we should look at the key factors that are there in the Indian economy and how badly they are doing, and making this public in the to the people. Well, one is, what is actually the level of research and development? I would like to know in India today. Where is the research and development? Where the numbers are? We have no solid information on that. Second is, surprisingly, education. The fact is, how much of the education motivates the students to think in terms of new ways of working, and also going in for research in the education. And finally, we find healthcare again is something which is minuscule as a part of GDP. So now we are in a situation where we have gone several, you know, distances backwards. And today, I would say that if you were to look at agriculture, for example, 45% of the population contributes only 18% of GDP, and through agriculture. So, I mean, where is the economic development that is being used to be a big cry once upon a time being taken? So, therefore, I would say that we are in a situation where we now have to motivate the people to feel strongly. And as I have said many times, the kinds of suppressions that the Indians are suffering today from taxes should be cured by abolishing at least the income tax, which is one of the most um, things that is putting pressure on the people not to be able to make savings, and therefore investment. So I would say today that in the history of India since 1947, never has there been such a bad situation in the economy of the country, and which requires immediately for us uh, to see that this is rectified, and the economy becomes a major factor for people to understand and act on it. Over to you, and we
Yeah.
can continue, Ramesh Sami.
So, Dr. Swami, thanks for that introduction. I'd like to why this topic is very apt as today is yesterday, or rather early this morning from our side, or even from yesterday, JP Morgan has downgraded India
Yes.
from overweight to neutral. It's a significant downgrade. They have three levels, but again, but HSBC, Citibank, Bernstein, Nomura, everybody in the past week have downgraded. This is going to be it is definitely a severe impact, Dr. Swami. They all cite that India is no longer attractive destination for investment.
Yeah.
Okay, which is a huge hit. They cite that there is going to be a lot of earnings going to be under pressure because there's so many issues. Basically, one of the biggest contributors, of course, is the war and the pressure on energy, because India is zero, almost nil self-dependency on energy. You have been advocating for, I don't know how long, decades, that India needs to be self-sufficient in energy by going nuclear and thorium. None of these idiots have listened to you, and look where we are today. And there is a consequence to this, Dr. Swami. I'll come to that later point as to why this energy is very important. I'll come to that important point later. And the very important, what everybody, all the equity says that it is no longer very attractive for to invest in India because the risk reward ratio has considerably increased. So they don't want to invest. So Korea, Taiwan, they are providing a far better return than India purely because of this huge AI upshift. Dr. Swami, in the world, what is happening today? Everybody wants to build AI data centers. Okay, for that, the more they are seeing that we need to have chip manufacturing or semiconductor manufacturing. India embarked on a semiconductor manufacturing, and India's semiconductor manufacturing will be online next year. But they're already 3 generations behind Taiwan today. The one that is going to be operational next year is going to be 3 generations behind. So this is how pathetic in planning that this government has been doing from 2014. Number one, okay. India, they do not see India as a destination for this highest growth sector. They are looking at almost $3 to $6 trillion worth of potential in this industry alone, Dr. Swami, today. And India is nowhere in the picture. So, and the most important factor for all these data centers and AI growth, energy. Coming back to the circle, that India is completely dependent on foreign sources for energy. India is definitely not a destination for a massive growth unless the government invests heavily into this or subsidies or something to that effect. I don't think this government is interested in helping the economy grow. This government is more interested to give doles from 3,000 rupees for people in Bengal, 3,000 rupees here, 50,000 crores. Where are they going to raise the money, Dr. Swami? We'll come to that point because where is the 50,000? The stupid prime minister, finance minister is going to say, okay, tax more people. That is the only way. She only knows taxing. No other forms of revenue for her mindset. The report has also downgraded both the stock exchanges by on an average of 10 to 15%. So retail investors, books, they're all going to be in doldrums, Dr. Swami, in the next year because they have cut that straight away by 10 to 15%. This is again a second big blow to people. Even if you look at a macroeconomic level, Dr. Swami, a major hit because energy is dead. Because it's getting more and more expensive, and India doesn't have its any own source of energy, so that's getting a huge impact. The report has very clearly said, don't invest in India, wait and see. Dr. Swami, in this economy where the world is progressing at light speed, you wait and see. There is no way for India to, in your view, you have seen so many things come and go. I don't think there is a remote chance of India coming back at this speed because the world is moving so fast. And if you say if one of the 5 of the largest banks, brokerages in the world are saying wait and see, it's a damning impact on India's economy. The very important factor, Dr. Swami, is coming to the rupee. Even that is a bigger blow because it is continuing to weaken. It's going to create more devaluation. So it's, at what point is it 100 is the limit? Is 110 the limit? Is 120 the limit? It is getting dearer for people even in India. Let's say, for example, if somebody wants to put up a AI plant infrastructure in India, Dr. Swami, they will not be able to import the latest technology into India because of the way the rupee is performing. And plus, with the government not even thinking about, okay, we have to see this as a serious sector that we need to grow, bring in subsidies, have a strategy behind it, and not do a 5-year plan. We need a 5-month plan. We need a 5-week plan that something comes up and says we need to do something drastic about it today because this report is going to have a serious impact in the markets in the coming few months, and we will see that very simply, Dr. Swami. Everybody thinks, but the Indian economy thinks we are growing at 100%, 200%. Some nonsense is being shown. The reports have said the GDP growth is going to slow down by another 1 or 2%. Whatever this cooked up numbers they have, it's going to go slow down further as well. So, overall, looking at all of this, Dr. Swami, do you still think? Where do you think that there is there a silver lining in this? If so, what is the silver lining? then what should India do? I mean, I don't expect this man with no education about economics, who just goes out there and says nonsense, to have any brain to come and say, and because he's got another finance minister who's got equally no brains. I'm sorry about it. Guys, if you, yeah. So the fact is, these big, large banks have clearly said these are the potential for India is low and it is weak. So I'm pretty sure that Dr. Swami, in the coming few months, the impact of this report is going to be felt hard and very real. Your thoughts, Dr. Swami?
Well, I think you have covered the entire, the picture very clearly. What I'm saying is that it's no use saying that this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. You're going to correct it. When the people who are in the handing the finance ministry and others, they are such duffers that they will never be able to comprehend what you have told and implement it. In fact, I was told by the finance ministry economists, whom I know, they said that the finance minister is not ever even consulted. It goes from the bureaucrats and to the PMO, and in the PMO, the officers who are there in high levels of the PMO, they make the decision, and it's all that Nirmala Sitharaman does this, gives a speech in Parliament. That's about all. Now, how can there be any people getting excited about our economy if the whole thing is become such a poor representation of our past?
Arvindji, do you want to chime in? And then we can. I have few more points, but I'll take your views, and then we can go to the next one. You're muted, Arvindji. Sorry. Okay, there you go. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Let me start with the topic Indian economy heading under Modi. Now, if we look at the record of last 12 years, we have seen where the economy is heading, and there have been different excuses given, and including if you recall, after 2019, 2020, COVID and other reasons were given, and saying that after once we recover, we'll be on the right path. But if we look at the GDP, Dr. Swami started with saying that Bangladesh per capita income in terms of dollars has exceeded India. And let me tell you, this has not happened for the first time. It happened 2 years back. And in 2 years back, Bangladesh was ahead of India in per capita income, but then India recovered by a few dollars. And now again it has happened. India has, according to the data presented, about $2,800 per year, whereas Bangladesh is about $2,900 per year. So roughly there is a difference of about $100. But Bangladesh has beaten India not only in per capita income, but Bangladesh has beaten in so many other things, including textile exports. Even they're competing in so many areas where India has export market, but that's a different issue altogether, because then we'll be making India Bangladesh comparison. The idea is, we started with the first symptom or first data that came, that India slipped from fourth position to sixth position in terms of GDP according to International Monetary Fund. Now, naturally, India has its own reasons, and the reasons are that India's dollar exchange rate is very high, and therefore, in term when we convert India's GDP in terms from rupees to dollars, since the dollar is very expensive compared to the rupee, and therefore we have come down. But the Niti Aayog, the Planning Commission, or whatever these bodies, they still project that India is on the path of the world's fastest growth, 9% this year, or 9% last year, and 6.5%, 7% this year. Different bodies have different estimates, as Ramesh mentioned about J.M. Morgan and other estimates of India's situation, but they still project that by 2050, India will be the second largest economy in the world, and by 2075, India will be the largest economy in the world. But nobody is going to live in 2005. Maybe some people who are listening to this program, young people may survive that time and they may check. But otherwise, those people who are claiming they will not be there, so there's no harm in claiming anything. For example, it was being said 5 years back or a few years back that by 2024, India will be 5 trillion dollar economy, and still, even in the not in the real terms, but even in the nominal terms, we are still 4 trillion only. And now they are saying by 2029 we will be 6 trillion. But anyway, so there is no point in saying this. And one more thing, when I talk about data, I'm a student of statistics all my life, and I have been using Indian government statistics and also the other statistics for comparison. But recently, the former chief statistician of India, he had said, he commented about the Indian statistics, and it has been rated as a third rate data. I mean, if you look at the international, so far we have been only saying these kind of things about Chinese statistics. The Chinese statistics are no more reliable, but now the same tag has been given to the Indian statistics also. The Indian statistics are no more reliable. From 2018 onwards, the all kind of data which has been collected by National Sample Survey Office, NSSO, has not been published correctly, and there have been questions on the data which has been published also. That means we suffer from the reliability of data claimed by the government of India. That apart, but even on the data that we are talking about, where is the employment? When we talk about economy, we talk about economy not only in per capita income, we say the poverty levels have gone down. We have been saying it from the 1997, that during the Devagowda's time, when the definition of the poverty was changed and the calculation method was changed and all that. They say during Modi's regime, 45%, more than 45% people have been brought above the poverty line. And I mean, since different agencies have different methods of calculation, I'm not going to the percentage, but even if we take a conservative estimate of 20% people living below poverty line, according to the World Bank standard, maybe $2.5 per day or $2 per day or whatever, we have 82 crores people who are being fed by the country, which is 57%. 57% of the population is giving free ration, and we are saying we have brought 45% people above the poverty line. Who are these people, 82 crores people, who are taking government of India ration every month? So, as I said, Indian statistics are no more reliable, and whatever data is dished out by the government agencies, including the National Sample Survey, we are not going to take the data. The data has to be seen with the pinch of salt. And this is so far as poverty is concerned. So, last year, when the employment data was dished out, which they say the unemployment is highest in last 45 years. The youth unemployment, the educated unemployment is one of the worst situation that we are facing. When 2013, 2014, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi took over, he had made certain promises. Even the last election, he had made certain promises. 2019, when he was elected, he had made certain economic promises. One of the promise was 2 crores employment per year. So if the 2 crores people were given employment per year, we would not have a situation that our unemployment is highest in last 45 years. So where is the employment? Where is now income inequality? Even if we say the GDP is 2,800 per dollar, what about the disparity? Disparity in income is so much. It is not only rural and urban. Within the urban areas also, there is so much disparity, educated, uneducated, the people, and the disparity is increasing over a period of time. We have not been able to control anything about disparity, because my research area has been primarily the disparity of income in India. But I have seen over a period of time the disparity is actually widened. Whatever indicators, whatever measurements you have of the poverty disparity, disparity in Indian income inequality has been growing over a period of time. Maybe because of different reasons, but whatever reasons, these reasons have not been attended to. Infrastructure, we say that a large portion of our budget is going to infrastructure, whether it is transportation, whether it is roads, or whether it is energy, or whether it is sources of energy, whatever. But still, we have the problem. In fact, the manufacturing rate is also going down. Why this unemployment? Unemployment is because of, maybe one, because of education, second because of skill mismatch. We have several schemes. We have Skill India, we have Startup India, we have all that. But where are those effects? Unless, I mean, these schemes are only on paper, because when we see the employment growing, though we had made for increasing the manufacturing growth, some scheme called PLI and loan scheme for certain areas, certain industries are also availed, but this is also not having the required effect. That means manufacturing is not picking up. Dr. Swami just now mentioned about the agriculture. 45% our population produces only so much, that is only about less than 20% contribution to GDP. And why? Because most of our agriculture is dependent on rain. Our irrigation has not increased over a period of time. The fertilizer application has not increased over a period of time. We have three types of fertilizer: nitrogenous, phosphorus, and potassic. Potassic fertilizer is not produced in India. 50
We
years
import a
we have
lot of
seen this. No, potassic fertilizer is not manufactured. Only
yeah, we import a
nitrogenous
lot.
and phosphorus.
We
Huh?
import a lot of
Sorry?
it. We import a lot of fertilizer too from.
So we import basically potassic fertilizer also, 100% of that, because we don't produce that. But the NPK balance, what should be there in the field, is, if farmers are not even educated. There is agriculture extension education department and
Mhm.
all that. The correct NPK ratios should be based on the soil testing. That soil testing laboratories are there, but farmers blindly apply urea in the field without knowing that in excess application of urea, even those farmers who can afford, though they don't get fertilizer on time, they don't get fertilizer in the requisite quantity, but also they use the wrong fertilizer at many at the times, and therefore the agriculture productivity, the land productivity, is one third of the developed countries. And nobody is paying the. So agriculture is a problem, the infrastructure is a problem, income inequality is a problem, unemployment is a problem. And where is the economy going? We say we have progressive 7% growth, 8% growth, one of the highest in the world, no doubt. China, we have surpassed China in terms of not only in population but also in terms of economic growth. Good, but where are we? Even we say, we earlier used to say in PPB terms it's third largest economy. But what about per capita income? If you look at the per capita income, 100 countries are ahead of us. So what is the value of our claims? So unless we attend to these questions, Modi or no Modi, Niti Ayog, or no, though of course Niti Ayog has been now revamped, and Dr. Swami mentioned about Ashok Lahiri, his background and his research and all that. He's an agriculture economist, by the way. And if Ashok Lahiri has been extensively writing on agriculture issues for, maybe he was the decreer also for a large number of years. ICRIER is a economic think tank, and we hope that the Niti Ayog will attend to these questions, which are the basic questions. Digitization, we claim that digitization has done wonderful effect, but Though of course we have reduced the cash transaction and all that because of the digital currency transaction and all that, but that has not had the important effect which transportation I have said, roads I have said, energy I have said. We have several projects. The Prime Minister Gati Shakti program was there, but where is that program? Nitin Gadkari is in charge of the road industry. He has been claiming that he is doing wonders in the transportation, road preparation, and things like that. But ultimately, the final effect counts. Nobody counts how many miles you ran. The question is, what is the output? What is the impact? And when we look at the impact, we find the rupee has gone beyond 93 rupees, maybe 94 rupees, and soon it will touch a century. And unemployment, as I said earlier, poverty I have already mentioned. So these are the indicators which are with any economy just by these indicators. And when you look at these indicators, we find the Indian economy is going down the hill, and if it is not corrected, situation is going to be bad for India. Dr. Swami.
Well, I mean, uh, I think all of us have had a shot. The key question is uh, the fact that the government has a institution called which is supposed to deal with the economic aspects of our planning. But what we are finding that is that after all these decades since Jawaharlal Nehru brought this silly thing from the Soviet Union, there has been no fundamental change in in the way in which the matter was done. For example, if you are going to do something by taking resources from the market, then the efficiency in the use of that should go on improving. But if you look at the fact that the way the money has been utilized over the last decades, the inefficiency in the use of those resources has been actually increasing. And naturally, therefore, you're going to get a very poor rate of return. We have a tremendous amount of opportunity to do so many things. Even the water of this of the sea, which is so widely available in our, could be used for a variety of things, including for drinking of water, which will be, by removing this the things that are, yeah, they particularly the
Desalination.
yeah, the salt and all that has been
Yeah,
taken out.
yeah.
You get no end. The Israelis have done it, so it's not some new great thing to be done. But nobody is working on how to take a problem that we have for all these, which has hurt the poor people, and how can we use technology in a way by which this can be so none of that is in any of the 5-year plans. We have no instruments by which we can say that yes, our government is working to see that new ways of creating salt, new ways of making drinking water being available from the sea, all these things, none of it has been touched at all for the last at least 25 years.
Even the energy, Dr. Swami, we have to have gone nuclear a long time ago because India
Yes,
is zero oil economy. We have
quite
enough
right.
resources. We should have gone thorium all over the country.
Yes.
It is a sad situation that India is so reliant on foreign nations for energy today. Be it
Yeah.
coal, we import coal of all places because the coal quality in India is bad, which is shameful. Dr. Swami, one fundamental question, Dr. Swami.
Yes,
Arvind said,
yes.
"Oh, the GDP is growing at 7%, 8%. Why is that not getting translated to market? If you are saying, oh, we are growing, we're extensively growing, but every bank is downgraded the Indian market. Why? What is the disconnect there?
The disconnect in all these calculations is the way we choose the income, uh, whether the base. What happens is you will find that the base would be, say, 2021,
Mhm.
and then after about 5 6 years later, you'll see they quietly have just shifted that base to 2026, which will mean that the inflation would be included in the size of the production, which will be measured in monetary terms. So these are things which you have to spend hours sitting and doing it, but the government does not have any kind of research of
Mentality.
scholars, or invite researchers, scholars, to ask them, whether this has been such and such a thing has been come in the newspaper. Can we get an answer to it? Nothing of the kind. They just ignore anything that we in the general public come out and bring out the truth.
So one important point, Dr. Samir,
Yes.
reports by IMD, the meteorological department, have said
Yes.
that this year's monsoon is not going to be great. We're going to be about 36% deficient. That is a huge blow because it's El Nino, what new one El Nino, what new effect. Given the forecast that the banks have downgraded India, the impact of the rupee dollar, impact of oil being expensive, and a bad monsoon, Dr. Swami, isn't that a huge sense of disaster looming? And what should the government do, Dr. Swami, in the event that if there is a weak monsoon? So typically, what happens to those? What is the impact on macroeconomy when these
No,
kind of
I would say that we have got some of the best people in this field who have migrated now to the United States and so on. Government should invite scholars and say that this is something that we are
what?
visualizing. Could you please tell us how to develop a methodology by which we can turn it all around? But the government doesn't treats all scholars in India outside the government. Inside the government, scholars, they don't can't even open their mouth. But the scholars who are there outside, they get no reputation, no respect from the government. So why would any person who's out not in the government do anything which will be good for the government, because the government is not going to look at it. Instead of that, they go into foreign, all these writings that take place in abroad. They all go to the foreign countries' benefit. The Indians do not get any benefit from that.
And Arvindji, you mentioned that the economy, basically the unemployment is quite high. That is also given this year seems to be a tough one for India, given where the global banks and brokerages have downgraded India with an unemployment situation. And you have seen this in the education sector. I mean, I don't know if the quality of the education is that liable, because you've always said that we're just forcing and we just rubber stamping students out with no actual skill sets. Where is that going to have an impact? Because we have a lot of youth, but that youth are not skilled enough to to participate in a growing economy. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, that is also a common complaint. And then most of the reports say, yes, you have a great youth population, but they're not skilled.
Yeah, that's what I said. Skill mismatch. See, there has been a lot of government schemes in last few years to generate skills, but skills mismatch would actually mean that people which are required for a particular skill are not available. Now, for example, people may be available for different trades. But the plumbers and the carpenters, we have ITIs, the
Right.
industrial training institutes, and these lot of money has been invested. And recently, last 3 4 years, 5 years, a lot of money has been invested to revamp those ITIs at the world global level, but it has not had an effect. In fact, I remember in 2009, I wrote a report for the ILO about the skill mismatch. I was the co-author of that report, the 2009 annual report of India about the skill mismatch for ILO. And since then, a lot of skills oriented institutions have been opened. A lot of schemes have come up. A lot of investment government has made, but it has not had the desired result. So this skill mission is to be paid attention to, and the skill mismatch wherever is there, that has to be bridged in order. See, for example, in IT, a lot of new skills are coming up. Now, if you continue to do the coding and C++ and languages, then those people who are trained in that particular trade will not find sufficient employment. Now, the age of artificial intelligence. So, unless you start your education from the artificial intelligence point of view, those engineers that you are producing, that are not employable in the industry. And this is the mismatch that I'm talking about.
Hmm.
Once that mismatch goes up, we have what we call the demographic dividend. We have the largest young population of this world, but this demographic dividend is not really paying the dividend to us.
Okay. Dr. Sami, there is a question from a viewer.
Yes.
Do you think now it's possible to industrialize India at a bigger scale than where, I mean, today we are not. I mean, even though people claim that India is industrial, we are not there yet. So what is hurting India? You were part when Narasimha wanted to get this thing done. It started off at a good speed, but now what is pulling us back? Is it crony capitalism? What is pulling us back, and what can be done?
The issue is this: you want to build uh, a set of projects, uh, then you should have a system, a monetary system, where people don't have to pay taxes at all. I have said that when it comes to somebody investing, the tax should be zero. And in the beginning, people were all shocked in the government, but slowly the thing came. But ultimately, no, the political authorities didn't want, uh, because they think that we have to have income tax on people so that we can keep people under control. With all these exemptions and so on, so much rubbish goes on, and such a huge tax department has to come into. I would say all that you do today, the one step, if somebody asks me to start the machine of Indian economy to move, is to abolish income tax. I'm not talking about sales tax. I'm talking about income tax. And of course, as far as sales tax is concerned, there should not be so many grades for it. There should be a simple flat, a proportion, and that should be used by people. Then all this corruption that is taking place, avoiding the income tax, bribing the department, all this will all go, and it will ultimately go into investment through by the back door.
Dr. Sami, two important points I'll cover, and then we'll go, because this given one of the important points mentioned in the report was the monsoons. They're, as they see, they're about a 35% reduction. They see there is a lack of. This is directly going to impact each and everybody's pocket, doctor. I mean, the food inflation is going to jump, right? The headline inflation is obviously going to get hit. The GDP growth is going to decline. The rural demand is going to collapse. Why doesn't this government see the this coming right in front of it, and what can they possibly do? I don't think they have run out of ideas. As you said, they don't want to listen to anybody. They just think that Jumla will take them along and push this through. What are your thoughts? And the second part I want to come to about the MSME, but let's finish this, Dr. Sam, because this.
Well, there is no. You see, the whole thing is that almost all decisions of this kind that you mentioned,
Hmm.
which are uh, where taxes are eased or they are reduced or they are wiped out, they have to go all the way to the top. And I can assure you that at the top, none of the people in high positions would ever allow income tax, for example, to be reduced or abolished, sales tax to be, made more easy, all that, because they feel this is control, and that control makes them continue with this. They may give you a lot of exemptions, but then they'll get the bribe for that. So that's why I'm saying, don't say reduce income tax, just abolish income tax, no income tax. What do you think will happen? Uh, they say no, but then where will government get the money? Government can print notes. They can easily print notes, and if the people have a demand for the products, even if you print notes, it doesn't lead to inflation. But unfortunately, the knowledge of economics is very poor in our government.
Dr. Swami, one of the biggest factors, again, the biggest hit I feel is the MSME collapse, Dr. Swami. At least in the past 5 years, 6 years, the MSME sector has had a severe impact because number one factor being that the payment crisis. They are not getting paid on time because it's a cascading effect, right? If somebody gets paid, needs to get paid, and it's getting. The reports suggest that there is a 3x increase in the gap. So earlier it was like 20 to 30 days, 30 to 40 days. Now it's going to 120 days. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And also, given the rupees continue weakening, this is just going to get worse. And the credit gap, Dr. Swami, because not many loans are available. They're facing a severe credit crunch as far as the MSME sector is concerned. And where is how big is the MSME sector for India economy to revive, Dr. Swami? I mean, is it getting killed at the cost of bigger and bigger factories? Because the MSME is collapsing in India.
Well, I mean, I haven't applied my mind to that. Maybe Arvind might have a point of view.
Arvind, do you have a thought on why the MSME sector has collapsed literally?
Let me tell you, in fact, I have been researching on this, and in 2011, I had published a paper about the finding out the problems of the setting up industry for the small scale people. Finance is the major source problem. The banks' finance are not available. Non-banking financial corporations are there, but non-banking financial corporation (NBFCs) as they are called, they have their own terms and conditions, and therefore, first major thing is finance. Second is skilled manpower is not available to the small scale industries, and those people who are there's a lot of retrenchment every year because of they have trained people have a lot of opportunities, therefore there is a shortage of trained people at the right place. Third is marketing opportunities. These people who set up small scale industries are not fully trained in management. There should be a post MSME setup training, though there are institutions, at least I know one institution in Delhi, NSEI is there in Okhla, which has been training people at very nominal cost. But the question is, people suspect something which is available cheaply. So the management training which has been given to them is not effective, and therefore they are not able to market their produce. So there are problems related to finance, there are related to HR, there are problems related to marketing, and and of course taxation. Though the government has promised every budget they promise the tax exemption to the small businessman, but actually it has not been effective on the ground. Now, one thing I wanted to point out when Dr. Swami said about the tax exemption to be given to the people in the key sector areas, we have several schemes. One major thing which is available to the industrialists, which was made compulsory, of course, long back, the CSR. corporate social responsibility. In corporate social responsibility area, CSR area, companies are given exemption for the investment for the public welfare. But the question is, over a period of time, these companies have learnt how to siphon this money in the name of CSR. So they show on paper that money is being spent on corporate social responsibility, but actually it is going elsewhere. So actually, it is only misutilizing the scheme of the government. Second thing is the GST reform. Government has reduced the slabs in every meeting. Of course, they say it is not only central government which can do it, because the state government, state ministers are also part of it. It is actually a government. It's a committee where state representation is also there. But why so far, after GST introduced 8 years back, why the petrol has not been brought under GST? Petrol is still under the state tax,
What
value
about
added tax,
alcohol?
VAT is
What
still
about
there.
alcohol?
And every alcohol, of course, also liquor and petrol. And every state has different rates. And that is why you have petrol available in Delhi for, let's say, 99 rupees or 100 rupees. In Calcutta, it may be 106 rupees. Bombay, it may be 108 rupees. And there is a lot of smuggling going on. I mean, government makes the scheme and leaves the loopholes. And therefore, this implementation of these things is because Dr. Swami had suggested few years back, he wrote a book called Reset. I have the copy of the book, Reset, with
You
me.
translated it in Hindi as well.
I translated this in Hindi. The Hindi translation is also available in the for those people who want to read it. People in the Niti Ayog, people who are in the policy making, should read this. He had mentioned a key word called incremental output ratio, where the government scheme should go, where the investment should be there, and identify the incremental output ratio. I am not sure so many economists are there in the government setup. What are they doing? I mean, it's a common sense. And an economist of the Harvard has written this book, basically meant for people to read and implement. But the government of India, maybe because it is Dr. Swami's idea, they don't want to implement. So the credit will go to Dr. Swami. I mean, there are people who are available for advice. There are people available for improvement policies, but the government should invite these people. And of course, there's no better example than VHS mentor Dr. Subramanian Swami himself, who has been writing about the economic for last 50 years since he came back to India. And he has written dozens of books on Indian economy and different aspects of Indian economy. People in the policy making should read them, then provide a solution.
This is very
No,
interesting.
I would add one thing to this. Leave aside everything else. I say if the government tomorrow abolishes income tax completely, tell me what irregularity will start with that. The rich will not be paying taxes, but then if the rich have to pay taxes which they don't like, they'll bribe the tax wala and they will pay very little. I mean, the amount of corruption that has come in is entirely because you're forcing people uh, to find other ways of having no income tax. I'm only saying that if you abolish income tax, people will invest. They will not look here and look there.
Correct.
And once they invest, they will increase production, and that will generate income. And
They will spend that
your economy will grow at 10% per year instead of 5% per year.
And Dr. Swami,
I've written books on this,
yeah,
Yes, correct.
and nobody is in a position to counter it. And most of
Yes.
the economists, they'll run away if I come, because they know I am the Harvard professor, joint author with Paul Samuelson, taught by Simon Kuznets, all Nobel laureates who all told me I was an idiot to go back to India, which I did. But I don't think I was an idiot. I'm much happier in India than I will be in America. But the fact is that here is a issue where if anyone decides to say something which is radical, immediately the bureaucracy will move into it and make out that you are some kind of a nutcase.
Yes,
Ramesh, just let me
Narendra.
make one point on Dr. Swami's income tax thing. You see, last 3 4 years, especially after COVID, one of the major problems in Indian economy has been the domestic consumption. Domestic consumption has gone down. People do not have money to spend. Of course, now eighth commission has been set up, the wages commission, and this will be implemented perhaps next year. So maybe a lot of money will be available every time when the pay commission is implemented. A lot of money is available. But what about the income tax? Dr. Swami has been saying this for years. In fact, if I know Dr. Swami for last for about 40 years, and I've been seeing that he has been writing papers after paper, newspaper articles, books, and services. You see, one of the major ills. What was the difference between Indian and Chinese economy? Indian economy always had the advantage because the domestic consumption was very, very high. Chinese growth was actually export-oriented growth. They didn't have the high domestic consumption as India. But last few years, economy is suffering because domestic consumption has gone down. And by abolition of income tax, the tax which we people are paying to the government will be spent in the market. As Dr. Swami said, it will be deposited in banks, it will be available for the industry. The growth, the one of the ills is manufacturing rate has gone down because the investment is not available in the right areas. And when the income tax is abolished, this will be available. Dr. Swami has already mentioned about the whole cycle.
Okay.
Once the money is available, more industrial production, the cheaper prices, people will buy, then people will spend. I mean, these common things, why these people don't understand, I fail to say anything about it.
Dr. Swami, there's one comment here. He
Uh,
says India has not had a revolution of some kind. It is not as though the revolution has not come. India has failed to capitalize on multiple revolutions that has come in the world. And again, we're going to miss the boat when it comes to AI and stuff like that. Dr. Swami, one important subject, one important topic, Dr. Swami. In this JP Morgan report, they have said that the IT sector will be impacted pretty high. By and large, India's major export is IT. They've already said that it's going to have a severe impact because of, first of all, AI. There's one reason we don't need that many bodies anymore. Number one, and they're saying, I mean, whether it's true or not, time will tell. I'm not saying everybody is singing that song. I don't know whether I agree with it or not. That is a separate topic. But the report says that the biggest impact is going to be felt by with the IT sector. On one hand, the IT sector is saying, okay, I'm getting dollar, which is better than the rupee. But at the end of the day, Dr. Swami, overall economy, India has to spend more to get anything from the outside world today, be right from the basic necessities of energy, food, fertilizer. I won't be surprised if India stops manufacturing anything, because at this rate, if they're killing MSME sector, which almost employs about 26 to 30 crore, 30,000 crore people around, 22 are huge numbers. Where are we going to grow, Dr. Swami? I don't see any opportunity, because large industries is only Ambani, Adani. Because other than that, who else is allowed to grow in India? We've never seen anything. News that we see is only these two, at least from a US perspective. And both of them are under pressure in the US because of some regulations. I think the Modi government needs to have a serious retrospective and say that think the introspection and see what will be done. Because I don't know if they would do it, because he doesn't have the mindset, because he doesn't like listening to people who give them good advice. So, in one word, Dr. Swami, the question is, where is Indian economy headed under Modi? So, with that, we will close, and then Arvindji will conclude. your answer to that. As a professor, I'm posing a question to you.
Indian economy is doomed. I'm telling you, another 2 years of Modi, that's the end of India. You will have a crisis. Of course, we'll always rise up from a crisis. We have always risen before crisis. But the amount, the whole problem today is that money is not. It's not that the money is too high. The collection goes into the pockets of all several special officials, and they also are distributed to keep politicians. So I mean, it's a racket which has corrupted the system, and we got nothing in return. The public got nothing in the return. No, the public has not got any benefit from the fact that we have high, income tax rates to bring about equality and all that. And none of that has come to the ordinary public. So I mean, it requires I regret to say, it requires a kind of a revolution to see that we make these changes which we should be making.
Arvindji, it's 9 o'clock, so we can conclude the program. Please, concluding remarks, and we can close it. Thank you. It's a great show
Yeah,
again.
we have covered, I think, almost all points related to Indian economy historically, how it has done better and how it has started declining, and why, the reasons Dr. Swami has mentioned. In fact, when I said about the Dr. Swami's book as a solution, this is not the first book that he has written on Indian economy. I remember I have that copy of the book elsewhere. Maybe I can show. In 1970s, he wrote the Swadeshi Plan.
Yes.
People used to laugh at it. Indira Gandhi loved it in Parliament,
Yes.
and said some funny comment about that, and that is why he was sacked from IIT Delhi. But he has been writing about the solutions to the problems of Indian economy since then, and the problems are many, and the solutions are there, provided people listen to right mind, and people read what right mind people write. And of course, when we talk about economy, one thing which is very I think, which is the core, at the core of the problem, and that core of the problem is population in India. India has one of the highest population density in the world, and the land and water, other resources have to be shared for a larger population. And as you know, we have already crossed China. We used to be number two, now we are number one in population. So this also should be paid attention to. And poor Sanjay Gandhi in 1975 paid the attention to the Nasbandi and other thing. Maybe it was a wrong approach, but since then population has been neglected. Issue of the population has been neglected. That should also be considered along with the issues in the economy. Dr. Swami has solution. People, if they had listened, in fact, few days back I wrote a tweet on X that if only people had heard Dr. Swami and read what Dr. Swami had written, India's situation would have been totally different. On that note, we come to an end of this program. We need statesmen like him, and people who can apply the mind and change the policies, not because of the selfish reasons, but because the reasons which has a logic, and a typical characteristic of Indian economy has been caught by many people, including Dr. Swami. So if we implement those things, what has been happening in last few years under Modi, as Dr. Swami said, it is likely to collapse. We may boost, we may boost about the 7%, 8% growth rate in GDP, but this GDP growth rate has many other things which are hidden, and the data which has not been produced in honest spirit. Thank you very much, Dr. Swami, for bringing these issues to the fore. And we had this important issue, important topic of Indian economy. And I'm sure we should discuss this maybe at every quarter in terms of a review of the economy, what is happening. And thank you, Ramesh. for anchoring the program and sharing the JP Morgan report and highlighting the points based on that. Thanks the technical team behind the scene. They're not seen in the frame, but Ashish Shetty, Tejas Navalgul, Swaminathan, Ajesh Nair, these people, Gadgi Rakesh, Ishwar Iyer, these people are behind the success of our program. Thank you very much. Without this technical team, we cannot proceed, and we cannot get the viewership that we have. Thank you very much. We'll be meeting again next Sunday with a new topic at 8 p.m. in Indian Standard Time with Dr. Swami as the key contributor. We'll be meeting again. Till then, Namaskar, Jai Hind, Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram.
Yes.